How we doing, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Richie Hicks Jr. Sports Podcast. Getting at it kind of late. We're having some technical difficulties with our potential guest host, Mr. PB Rardo, our boy Sherrard. Hopefully he's able to come back in. Buy your T-shirts, $20 a pop. We'll discuss that towards the end of the show. Lot going on pertaining to New York sports tonight. On the heels of a huge New York Rangers trade, they get a big win against the rival Philadelphia Flyers. Big win for the New York Rangers. And in my opinion, possibly an even bigger win for these guys. Lucky 7, man. The New York Knicks, the modest winning streak is not so modest anymore. 7 in a row. Second time in a matter of a couple of weeks that they beat the New Jersey Nets. The Brooklyn Nets, sorry. I did say New Jersey. The question down below is, can this Knicks team be a threat to the Celtics and Milwaukee in the playoffs? But before we even go there, I got to say this, Brett. Is it safe to say that the Knicks have taken back New York City and they're in the driver's seat for the foreseeable future after the departures of Kyrie, Kevin Durant, Brooklyn's on a downslide? I always thought it was the Knicks city to begin with, even when they were on a downturn.
I mean, no, you can say that. I think they're locking up the 4 or 5 seed. But you know, the chance to go against Boston and Milwaukee, I'm not going to touch that yet. I'm not going to touch it yet. It's too early to tell. Anything can happen. Any injuries can happen. You know, we'll see where it goes. But as of right now, they are hot. Brunson is playing hot. Would they put up 81 points in the first half?
Something like that? That's like
81 points in the first half. So I mean, they're playing lights out right now, man. They're playing hot ball.
Team ball, which is really exciting. They're playing team ball. Everybody's getting in.
No, they're playing team ball. Come playoff time, I don't really know how they're going to respond. We both know that they're a better road team than they are a home team.
Indeed.
And that could play to their advantage. You know, I mean, depending on the scenario. But I honestly don't know what this team is going to do. They're kind of one of those unpredictable teams that can get hot or they can get really bad.
Yeah, that's a good point. I feel that,
so you really don't know what they're going to do and what they're capable of. But it's going to be interesting down the stretch. But you already know that those 2 main teams, Milwaukee, Boston, like, you know, those teams are going to be in the hunt for absolutely. And New York may be one of those teams. I'm saying maybe that may just put a little pressure on them. I'm not going to say beat them, but they can put some pressure on both those teams.
Well, as a Knicks fan, and I've said this on recent shows, if I have a choice, I would rather play the Celtics in a playoff series than the Bucks and hope that maybe a team like Philly or Cleveland or somebody else will be able to knock out the Bucks. We live, Sherrod. Just want to let you know. We're going to take a pause on what we were just speaking on. Got a guest in the house, my friend, Mr. PB Rardo, a.k.a. Sherrod.
Yes, sir.
I had the pleasure of listening to some of your music today, bro. I wanted you to let the listeners know where they can find your new stuff and what you've been up to.
Hey, man, I'm actually on really almost all platforms, but right now I got most of all my work is on YouTube. I got links on Facebook, Instagram. It's at PB Rardo, and PB RARDO. And that's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, SoundCloud. I'm even on Spotify and iTunes and all that as well. So y'all check me out, man. I got a video out right now in a project. It's called BSM. And then the song is called Get Used to Me. Shot by my boy, Save Fetty, Fetty Factory. But I'm repping Paper Boys. That's my team. Entertainment, Paper Boys Entertainment. So I appreciate y'all having me, guys, and it's a pleasure being on the show, man.
Nah, I appreciate that, man. I know Zay pretty well myself, and I gotta say, I've been paying attention to a lot of your stuff, even going back to kind of like the pandemic.
Right, right,
And I just wanted to say, friend to friend, but also a hip hop critic, just somebody who loves hip hop.
right.
I see you evolving, man. I see you growing as an artist, and
I
quite
appreciate
frankly,
it.
you're gradually improving and just getting better and better. I said that to Zay
Right.
about an hour and a half ago. I said, uh, just keep up your grind, man. I think that's the most important thing to not only what you're aspiring to do,
Oh
but
yeah.
anybody. You're passionate about something that you think you kick the door down on.
Right.
Nobody could tell anybody what they're capable of or how far they could get with it. But I'm happy that you're following it, man, because you can't win until you start punching, and you've certainly been doing that.
Yeah, this
I
is
just
my
been
boy,
trying to stay
PB
consistent.
Rardo. Still humble, baby. We're still
Yes,
humble.
sir.
And look,
You already know. You
I am
already
looking
know.
forward. I am looking forward to you coming out with that next 2K intro.
He'll be back.
Oh,
Hopefully we get him back. He's out and about. As we were speaking on Lucky 7, the Knicks, let's take it back here for a moment. Yeah. So this is my take on the Knicks right now. This is a team that since making a couple of under-the-radar moves, they bring in Hart. I think that he's been a massive defensive presence. Mitchell Robinson gets healthy. He's back. The point guard play has been excellent because whenever Brunson's taken a blow, you're not losing any kind of momentum when you bring in a Quickly. I've said it recently, Derrick Rose has been demoted to not even playing right now. And it's not necessarily because of a Derrick Rose issue. It speaks volumes more so on the fact that the Knicks are that deep at point guard. The Knicks are very deep at point guard right now, but I do believe that potentially Derrick Rose might have a role at some point in the playoffs because, playoffs is quite the marathon. And, it only takes one injury or maybe a horrific game. And you know how it is when seasons get on the line, coaches do some wild things to spark a team. And Derrick Rose still has enough left in the tank to contribute. But what I love about this Brunson addition is that I feel that he's allowing Julius Randle to be the player that he's supposed to be without having to play too much hero ball. Because if you go back to the 2020 season or even last year, Julius Randle, quite frankly, was not doing what he does best, which is attack the basket, draw fouls. And for a big guy, yeah, he has a nice little three-point stroke. Mm-hmm. But you don't want that dude taking 17 threes a game. No. You want that guy making his money in the paint.
No,
we match up good with the Celtics.
He has the range, but he's one of the one of the big men in the league that can actually draw the fouls and do those 15, those 15-foot, shots.
It's a big importance to be able to make your money in the paint and at the line because that's how you slow down the game. That's how you score when the clock is not moving. There's a lot of variables to it. I mean, we talk about a prolific scorer like a James Harden. Why is James Harden not the player he used to be? It's because he doesn't get to the line anymore.
Get to the line.
Because he doesn't have the explosion anymore. But I very humbly, I think the Knicks' ceiling is an Eastern Conference championship appearance. I think their floor is the obvious. They can go to the playoffs and shit the bed. But I think the Knicks, at minimum, are looking at a second-round matchup with either the Boston Celtics or the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm just going to call it like I see it right now. If the Knicks play the Bucks, they will not beat them, and I have the Bucks winning that within 5 games. If the Knicks take it to 6, they did good. Now, the Celtics, I do think the Knicks could win that series. Knicks are 2-0 against them. They have another showdown this coming Sunday in Boston. That's going to be exciting. Knicks have won the previous 2 games, one in Boston, one in New York, most recently in New York. The Knicks showed out. But I think that, part of winning championships, competing for them, and growing as a team is that you got to get it from every level of play. You're getting it defensively. You're getting it in transition. You're getting it with just good ball distribution and guys not making silly turnovers. Jalen Brunson has really become a star. And the fact that he didn't make the All-Star game is kind of laughable, but I could give two damns about an All-Star game. I'm happy that he's found the right home in New York and, following in the footsteps of his father. His father was not the prolific player that he was, but his father did have a stint with the Knicks, predominantly as an extra reserve, sometimes not even getting dressed for games, but nonetheless, second-generation talent, and Jalen Brunson has really changed the dynamic of where the Knicks are. And, we alluded to in the beginning of this, is it their city again? Goes without saying. I feel that you're going to call out the fake fans, the ones that wanted to go to Brooklyn for convenience. They had the cool Russian billionaire. They had Jay-Z. Hey, guys.
You said it, not me. So
it blew up. The Brooklyn, everything in Brooklyn blew up. We'll take you back now, but we want some apologies.
Yeah, I like the way your team is going right now. Like I said, they're playing hot. I don't see them going past the second round. I think they'll put pressure. I think they'll compete. But at the end of the day, I think Boston, I think Milwaukee, I think they're too strong. They're too strong.
From a head-to-head matchup, the Celtics have not shown me a reason yet to think that the Knicks can't beat them because they haven't beaten the Knicks yet.
Yeah, you'll see it in the playoffs.
We'll find out. That's why we watch the games. We're going to keep it on the NBA. No rest for the weary. NBA legend Charles Barkley is just over rest minutes in the NBA. He is not a fan. He is not pleased. He wants guys to play. He said it best when he was like, these guys have the best nutrition. They have the best of everything now. And to only play 3 times a week, very rarely do they even schedule back-to-backs like they did in the old days. Barkley, without a doubt, has a point to me. And, I think you were the one who made the comment.
Yeah, I don't agree with Charles that much. Hardly at all, actually. Whenever I see him on NBA TNT halftime, I think he's a friggin' idiot. But this is one of those circumstances where I actually agree with Chuck. He makes a perfect point. We have all these fans that pay thousands of dollars to travel across the country to see the number one players in basketball, and they're benching these guys.
Yeah, predetermined rest days.
Like what he said, these guys play 3 times a week, and they're not even full games. If one team is blowing the other team out, they're benching them. They're not even playing the whole fourth quarter or halfway through the third quarter. But they have all the correct medicine. They have all the correct doctors. They have the correct regimen to train. And in a less physical league, by that matter, and you're benching these guys, I agree with Charles 110%. I completely have his back on this. Like if I'm traveling across the country out to LA, let's say I've never seen LeBron play in my life.
Yeah.
But I want to see him play because it's a bucket list. You know what I'm saying? It's a bucket list. Yeah. I want to see him play. It is what it is. I fly out there, and they're playing a shit dick team with nothing on the line. But I want to see LeBron play. I go out there. I spend $10,000 round trip trying to see this guy play, and they bench him. Would you not be upset as a fan?
I think it not only speaks volumes about one particular scenario that you're making an example of, I think it speaks on a lot of guys in the league. I love what Anthony Edwards said when, current player, he was like, just play. Bottom line, just play. And when you consider the normal NBA contracts where they are among the highest paid of most professional athletes, It's got to be a better happy medium. When you think about the elite and the best of the best, my guys like Jordan and Kobe and many others, go tell Patrick Ewing to have a rest day. Like I saw Ewing play against the Indiana Pacers with a partially torn Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
And he finished the game.
No, it wasn't partially torn. It was torn.
The point to be made
It wasn't partially. It was torn.
The point to be made is he finished the game, and then he was shut down for the year because he couldn't walk.
Yeah.
But that was, I think, a good enough reason to stop playing.
How many games did Jordan miss?
Very frequently. What's up? What's up, Shiraz? Shiraz back up.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys.
No, it's okay, guys.
I'm finally home, man.
You're good, brother. You're good.
Good,
Just to speed you up, we're talking about Charles Barkley. We're talking about Charles Barkley's old school, and he's not a fan of rest minutes.
Right.
He is not pleased with, Brett said right before you came back on air that Chuck wants to see these guys play. He's like, you guys got the best doctors. You guys make more money than we ever made before as the guys who opened up the lane for you.
True.
Very rarely do you have back-to-backs. You liken it to like the Kobe Bryant reference from like many years ago. Right. Kobe flat out said, it might be somebody's only chance to see me play. I got to do what I got to do.
Jordan did the same thing. How many celebrities came out to see him play?
I don't care about a celebrity. It's more about the 10-year-old kid.
Fans.
It's more about the 10-year-old kid. It's more about
everything.
The working guy who might not be able to afford a game like that again. Take his son.
Yeah, father, mother.
That's what it's about.
Son or daughter. You know what I mean? That
you're building memories.
Player, right? And to me, it's funny because Kawhi Leonard, he's the main one that gets the scrutiny.
Yeah.
Behind it.
Yeah.
And I realized why they because JJ Redick and Stephen A. Smith was having a debate on it on First Take. I told you I'm big on that show, so I do watch it every now and then. And I heard them kind of getting into it about it, and they said, well, it's due to his history of injuries, of his knee or whatever the case may be. MCL, ACL, some type of injury he had. That's why he does the, load management thing and not playing back-to-backs and, taking time off. He's the biggest one that's on it, and I think it's rubbed off on everybody else. And I think they was trying to kind of give him a pass on that because of his injury.
Yeah, I think there's some validity to when you do have legitimate injuries that have put you down.
Right.
But like we see the memes, we all laugh in our own way when you'll see like Bill Laimbeer or Dennis Rodman like clotheslining Michael Jordan. Right. And then you see LeBron on the floor, grabbing his pinky or something. And by no means am I insinuating that LeBron is soft. Yeah, I'm not saying LeBron's soft. I'm just saying that this era of NBA basketball, it's like one thing that you always got to remember when you're in the league or even on a bigger level as the executives or on a bigger level as the commissioner, you always want to be able that your product is strong and that your product is people are gravitating towards it.
Right.
And unfortunately, they're coming off. You're talking about one of the lowest rated All-Star games of all time. That's not a good look.
That was horrible. That was one of the worst All-Star games I've ever seen in my life.
So there's a happy medium for sure, but I guess to wrap this part up, I think Brett and I speak pretty loud on this that we do agree with Charles on this one. And
Chuck doesn't really, he doesn't make a lot of sense half the time.
Oh, he don't. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like he doesn't. He really doesn't. But he actually speaks the truth on this one, and I 120% have Chuck's back on this one.
Right.
Like I will forever, especially with a kid of my own that is a basketball fan now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if the Warriors are in town playing the Magic,
right,
and I want to take my kid to a game, I don't care if it's nosebleed seats. I want to see Steph play.
And if Steph's not playing, he better be in a scooter.
It's a shit show.
I get it. Right? I get both sides of it. I do.
It's a shit show.
I get
like
it.
I had to fight 2 hours worth of traffic and take a day off from work. And pay this money and pay that money.
They're not thinking about that though.
That's sad. To not see him play.
And what the reason why they are as big as they are and why they make as much money that they make without the fans, these artists, these basketball players, these baseball players, these football players, whatever they are, whatever they're doing in their profession, especially those kind of people who do have fans that make them as big as they are, they got to show a little more appreciation. Anthony Edwards, right? He's like
speak on it.
Right, he's 22, 21 years old, and I'm glad that he has that mindset that I want to play for those reasons to satisfy the fans, the people who, like you said, might only have one chance to see him play, the less fortunate people. It's people out here with situations and things going on where they might not ever make it to a game, or they only get one chance to go to a game. And it's about entertaining the people at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And you want to sell your product the right way. And when, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I think Kobe, rest his soul, said it best when he was like, the All-Star game had to get better. This is when he was still alive, obviously, talking about this a couple years back before we lost him. And he was speaking on how, he wanted to see that intensity back in these All-Star games. And, you're talking about possibly the best pickup game because you got the best players on the planet.
Exactly.
But the lack of defense.
That's the main thing.
And you're killing it with no more East versus West. So you've completely stripped it of the pride factor.
Right. It's not competitive how it used to be.
No, the NFL is doing the same shit.
But the NFL, I could forgive a little more because the NFL is a contact sport through and through.
Right. They got to have an off.
Yeah, but there's no contact at all during that Pro Bowl game.
Yeah, but you're not going to get hurt.
Getting hurt. Yeah.
I could agree with that. The NFL, especially a week before Super Bowl, well, Super Bowl teams aren't even that's a thing because in the old days, they used to do it the week after the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
right.
So guys would actually show up to these things.
Well, Brady, how many times did Brady get invited and he didn't go?
Well, he
wanted to prep for the Super Bowl.
Right.
You could still get invited and not go.
Yeah, for sure. You still get recognized as, but I can't even compare the two. The NBA All-Star game always stood out as the best All-Star game, and that's something they got to get back to.
The most entertaining, the most watched, the most competitive. Think about it. When AI, Kobe, Jordan, even you can go back to Magic and them guys.
Of course.
That's a little bit before my time. But I know that they actually went out there and played hard. T-Mac and those guys and whoever it was from back then. I would say the past 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, man.
It's just gotten more and more watered down to the point where it's just that's not fun either for the fans.
It's not.
It's
not enjoyable at all.
Really one of the best All-Star games I ever recall was you're talking about 40-year-old Michael Jordan, Washington Wizard Michael Jordan.
Right.
Which should have ended the game.
Right.
But Jermaine O'Neal made a really dumb foul. Then ultimately they lose in OT to the West. But you're talking about 40-year-old man at the time.
Right.
Running with the 25-year-olds.
You know how many points he scored that game?
I don't remember. I'd be lying if I said I remember.
23.
23.
No shit.
Not bad.
Scored 23 points that game.
He was good. He was good to still give you 40 at 40 years old or better.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I got nothing bad to say about MJ, bro. As far as his play and all that. It's no debate in my book. It's no argument. I'm still old school when it comes to
you can already know where I'm going to go next with this one.
Right.
Oh, you're going to talk about the Gilbert
Richie and I already had this debate last week.
Right.
I want to hear I want to hear your 2 cents on the GOAT debate. I don't even need to know. I don't even need to name the 2 players.
LeBron and MJ. It's clear. I think it's clear to everybody now at this point I wasn't around to see Kareem, and Magic and those
I
other
saw the
guys
tail
play.
end. I saw the tail end of Kareem.
Like I wasn't around to see even Bird, and I don't think he's even in the top 5. But the ones that get brought up every time is Kareem, of course, obviously Michael Jordan, uh, LeBron. Then maybe you would say Bill Russell and all those other guys, just because of the championship aspect of it, and then maybe Wilt Chamberlain or because that other spot is up in the air. Maybe Kobe. Uh, then
It
you
is
get
super
Tim
subjective.
Duncan. Look, you get Tim Duncan and all those other guys that we forget about. That are great too. That are just right there on the cusp or
I
right there.
said it.
You know what I mean? It's those guys we forget about.
I said it to Brett recently, and this is interesting. So, like, for almost 40 years, Kareem was the all-time points getter.
Right.
Yeah.
Karl Malone was number 2. Michael Jordan, number 3. Obviously, LeBron has jumped those guys over the course of the last few years, and now he's on top of the mountain with total points.
Right.
But Brett made a good point. He was like, well, we never considered Karl Malone the GOAT, or the second to the GOAT, because he had the second most points.
Mm-hmm.
So
and now he has a third.
I try to liken it to a lot of aspects. There's a simple reason why Jordan will always be my GOAT no matter what era we're in.
Right.
We already know he's the most prolific scorer in terms of year to year to year and the consecutive scoring titles.
Yeah, 10 years. 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. 10
What puts him over for me is the all NBA defensive accolades.
Right.
That's what puts him over to me. And then, an undefeated record in the finals. I mean, if we want to nitpick, he got his ass kicked by Detroit when he was coming up. Same thing against Larry Bird Celtics. Mm-hmm. But I think when everybody gets their ass kicked on the way up, no matter who you are, I think one of the few exceptions was Magic Johnson winning his rookie year. It don't happen like that for too many people.
Nah, man. He was different, too.
Yeah, he was different. And he's another guy that gets overlooked. Sometimes I think you could say it's a recency bias thing.
Right. I think Magic is still top 5, just looking at his highlights. Kobe gets snubbed because Kobe's my guy at the end of the day. Like, I love MJ, love LeBron, love those guys, but I feel like Kobe gets slighted a lot of the times just because the Lakers were bad when they did lose Shaq just for, a certain period of time. And
there's some fact to that.
Messed them up. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, man. You still can't take nothing away from Kobe's game because he still stayed that same player. He stayed with the same team. He stayed who he was and true to himself.
Yeah.
Still,
he didn't have to go to a super team.
MJ. Yeah,
he didn't have to go to a super team.
And you know what's interesting? Sherrod? I think when a lot of people talk about greatness, it's kind of like the age-old debate if you're talking about Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali.
Right.
Why they call Ali the greatest? The man lost 5 fights. There's a lot of reasons, bro.
Right.
The man went to jail for something he believed in.
Right.
The man changed his name because he felt that his people were being oppressed during a very unrestful time for people of color. I think that's another reason that you could say, you know what? That's another reason, check, greatest.
Right.
Mike Tyson in front of Arsenio Hall with Muhammad Ali right next to him. They were trying to get like some playful heat. And Mike, who didn't have to be that humble, said, sometimes when you're in the presence of greatness, you have to bow down. And that man is the best right next to me.
Right.
Give props to Mike Tyson for being that humble.
Got to pay homage.
Absolutely. Because you got to know where you came from if you're going to know where you're going. And, I don't hate LeBron. It's not like that. But when you call yourself the GOAT,
right?
Even Mike never called himself the GOAT because he never had to, because the 3 of us are going to say that to him.
Yeah, he showed it by his play and by his championships. And
so many layers to it, man. There's so many layers. I always tell people Bird and Magic saved the NBA, but Michael Jordan globalized it.
Right.
So who do you got, PB? Is it MJ?
Yeah, I'm going MJ all day, man. No disrespect. LeBron is a very close second because there's certain things that we have to accept too. I got MJ. MJ to me is the better player. He's a killer. He's an assassin. He's the epitome of like I'm gonna eat your heart out. I'm gonna go right at you, and I'm gonna glorify your weakness, and I'm gonna I'm gonna dominate. I'm gonna dominate you. So don't get me wrong, LeBron. He showed signs of domination.
Oh
He's a
no doubt.
great player, great passer. One thing I can say, in a certain sense, he's a little more all around than Jordan,
No doubt.
just a little more.
That's what makes it subjective because I always tell
Right.
people this. I used to scratch my head and get annoyed when they're like GOAT LeBron because
Right.
some people would have or Jordan. Some people would say before Michael Jordan. Some people would consider Magic to be the GOAT.
True.
And this is the thing. Magic and LeBron have similar skill sets. I mean, LeBron is a superior athlete to Magic. We won't argue that.
A lot of similarities though there.
There's so many similarities, and then in the same age-old comparison thing, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. If you don't put a head on either one of these players, do we know who's who?
Right.
If you're watching like how they had Tupac at Coachella,
If I'm
like a hologram.
If I'm watching Kobe and Jordan, no, you can't tell the difference.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
If I'm watching Jordan and LeBron, I can absolutely tell the difference.
Yeah, but the point to be made is that they shouldn't be compared the way they have been grossly compared because they are two completely different players. Right. If you're gonna call GOAT this, GOAT that, there's reasons behind it. And I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you, Sherrod, actually. I actually got Kareem as my number 2. Okay. And I think the reason why I feel comfortable going there is that when you factor in what he did in college and his domination in the pros, and I think the fact that record stood for 40 years. Now, granted, the Michael Jordan retirements definitely helped that record stand longer. We could agree on that.
2 times.
Right.
Yeah, 2 times. The second one really being the final one because he came back with Washington and he was still a top 20 player, top 15 player maybe. Right. But he certainly wasn't a top 10 player when he came back anymore. It was a different time in his life.
Yeah.
I think it was more like a challenging himself kind of thing to see where do I stand against all these kids now?
Kind of like Tom Brady.
You can say that.
Here's my question to both of you.
Okay.
If Brady doesn't retire in 94, 95, do they beat Houston? Or does Houston beat them? Mm-hmm.
Jordan, I think Jordan and them. It would have been tough though, honestly, because they didn't have anybody that could guard Akeem. I don't think so. Maybe Dennis Rodman, obviously.
But no, this is before Rodman.
True. See, look, so
it's before. This is 94, 95.
That's what before Rodman. So they don't honestly right. So then they don't even have anybody that could even really guard.
I'm gonna give you my answer. They don't beat the 95 Rockets for one obvious reason. They couldn't beat the 95 Magic, and Houston swept the floor with them. Right. But I will say this. The 94 Bulls didn't have Michael Jordan. We know this.
Right.
They took the New York Knicks to 7. A lot of people feel that Scottie Pippen, that was a really bad foul call on the Hubert Davis foul. I'm a Knicks fan, and I'll even say that was a horrible call. But this is the thing. They took the Knicks 7. The Knicks took Houston 7.
Right.
Do I think the Bulls in 94, even without Michael Jordan, were better than the Pacers? I'm going to say probably. Mm-hmm. And I'm also gonna say that I think the 94 Bulls without Michael Jordan were better than the 95 Bulls with him. And this isn't an indictment on Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan did not play a lot of games that year. And they also lost Horace Grant, and they didn't have Dennis Rodman yet. Those 95 Bulls were very weak compared to what we were used to seeing from them. The Rockets would have kicked their ass in 95. If they played the Rockets in 94, I actually think they got a chance to beat them.
Right.
Well, that was my question. If Jordan didn't retire and he stuck with the same team in 94, 95, what would be the chance?
Well, it goes without saying. If I'm giving, Drexler only played in 95 with Houston.
Mm-hmm.
That's the team that could have got Mike's Bulls.
Yeah.
Not the first team.
No.
Because, listen, I love the Knicks. I'm a lifelong fan. But I'll be the first one to tell you that the 94 Knicks, while having one of the best defenses in the league that year, they were very limited on offense.
Right.
You know, John Starks, when he was off, it put a lot of burden on Patrick Ewing's shoulders.
That's what hurt him.
Ewing never had that number 2, and when he finally did, he was an old man.
Right. It was too late. Because
late.
That Knicks team, if Ewing still had juice, I watched that series. If Ewing still had juice, was a little bit younger, I feel like the Knicks should have or would have had a way better chance to beat the Spurs. They could have beat them.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You had Sprewell playing with a busted toe.
Right.
You had LJ with the bad back.
Right.
Ewing tore his Achilles. Larry Johnson was running around injured, if I didn't already mention him. I think the only healthy guys were like Allen Houston and Chris Dudley.
Yeah,
and
the coach.
Yeah.
Man.
No, but no bullshit. Keeping it on the NBA for a minute, want to get your thoughts on this too. You know, recently Giannis' playful comments towards KD about essentially saying, I can teach you how to be a leader. I can teach you how to be a winner. I've won without the super team. You've won with the super team. We talked about the product of the NBA. That was a topic of this. Do we believe that this is still a thing? Do we believe that the whole super team hype? I think it's imperative that Kevin Durant has got to win in Phoenix. I think at least two to solidify that legacy, because LeBron might have been the forefather of the super team, but at least LeBron could say everywhere I won a championship. He could say that.
The one thing about LeBron, he was never this is why I think he's number 2 in my book. He never played second fiddle. You could maybe say that 1 year in Miami when
I think they were feeling each other out.
That was D Wade's team.
When they lost.
He and D Wade in year 1, they were definitely having a struggle of figuring out how to adapt to each other.
Right.
You make a good point on that. That's a good point.
I don't think he played second fiddle. It's just they was trying to figure out who was going to be their go-to guy, because they was so used to it being Wade. And LeBron came on the team, and everybody in the world knew that basically he's the better player. He's who we need to get to the promised land again, right? So it's different because in LA, right, with Magic and Kareem,
right,
we already knew, I didn't watch the games, but from what I know, from what I learned from my pops, because he watched the games, was he made it clear that Kareem was the best player, but when Magic got there, he was the best player. It was clear to everybody.
Because he was the facilitator who put everybody on. And I think Kareem needed that point guard, because, Kareem won in Milwaukee when he still won by Lou Alcindor.
Right.
But when he came to LA, he was winning MVPs and everybody knew he was that guy, but they were not winning championships.
Right.
And, we talk about the good, bad, and ugly of super teams. I mean, shoot, I remember Karl Malone, Gary Payton teaming up with Shaq and Kobe.
Yeah.
And you know why that didn't work? Because there was no floor spacing.
Right.
You got 2 old dudes playing with 2 guys that are still in their prime.
I was going to say they were old as shit.
Right.
Karl Malone doesn't know how to be no third and fourth option. That's not who he is.
We all thought they were going to win or should have won.
For sure.
We all thought, just because we all wanted to see Karl Malone get his championship, and Gary ended up getting his with the Heat instead. But we all wanted to see them get their championships. We seen them lose to Jordan time after time, and they had to go team up together, and we thought it would work. I don't think that's the year that they lost to the Pistons, right?
Yeah, they only took 1 game. They won game 1, and then they got rocked.
Yeah, the Pistons, man, that broke the Lakers up, essentially. You know what I mean?
That was pretty much the beginning of the end because Gary Payton and Karl Malone were literally there just for that 1 year.
They were done. Yeah.
And then it left. And by the way, to the viewers, check out the Shaq documentary on HBO Max. Definitely a good watch. You get a lot of insight from Penny Hardaway,
right.
Dwayne Wade, Phil Jackson, Shaq himself, Shaq's parents. Worth watching, man. Definitely a good watch. And I think the one that I was most intrigued with was Penny Hardaway because we know what him and Kobe became, but I think the great unknown is what he and Hardaway could have been.
Right.
Yeah, they could have been the Shaq and Kobe before Shaq and Kobe became.
I'll make a better reference than Shaq and Kobe. They would have been Magic and Kareem.
Right.
Yeah, maybe, because that was a younger Shaq and more agile
Orlando,
and quicker.
Man, I'm from Orlando.
Been right.
I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm from Orlando.
Right.
And they had the city on fire, man. Like they were the reason why people still like the Magic.
That's the first year that I moved to Orlando the first time. Then I went back to New York. But I could speak on that being factual because I even remember. You know when it's real? When Michael Jordan is in the league and everybody was jumping on the Bulls on some level.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you hated the Bulls, you still had Jordans or wanted to wear Jordans.
Oh, of course.
Even if you hated the Bulls, you would settle for the Pippins. Those were pretty decent. So I remember I had the neon ones. With
how long have we been playing 2K now, Reg? How long?
A long time.
Right.
What is the team I generally want to roll with?
Yeah, you got a few, but he likes to run with the old school Magic. Like we do Legends
every
tournaments.
Single time.
We've always done Legends tournaments.
They were good. They were damn good.
Yeah, because I think Penny, another guy, injuries.
Derailed.
But, to circle it back to what we're getting at, my take on the Giannis thing, I did mention it a few nights ago.
Yeah.
Is
I got a kick out of that.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Kevin Durant, you can make an honest argument that he might actually be the most smooth, efficient, prolific scorer since Michael Jordan. Not Kobe, not LeBron, not any. I have no problem saying that. As an individual talent, Kevin Durant is phenomenal. Yeah. I said this to my guy Zappy after one of the shows.
Right.
If the Seattle Supersonics don't leave, I think Kevin Durant would have been a lifer.
Right.
But OKC doesn't offer that same stuff. Seattle's a cool city.
Oh, yeah. He would have liked it more. He liked it.
It doesn't offer that. But narratives are a bitch. Whatever
Giannis said, he would say, "Oh, I respect you. Oh, I think you're a great player." And he totally negated whatever he said before that, and the host was just nailing him on it.
Yeah,
it's like anything else, it becomes clickbait, and once it becomes clickbait, it goes viral, and everybody knows about it.
The most important part is what you was just talking about earlier, Rich. He joined the super team. You're going out weak at the end of the day. Then what Chuck said about it, Charles Barkley. Well, LeBron started it.
Yeah, LeBron absolutely started it because I get a kick when people try to be like, "Oh, what about when Chuck got with Olajuwon and Pippen?" I'm like, it's not the same thing.
They were older.
Thank you, sir. They were all older, not three young 25-year-olds or so coming all together at the same time like that. That would be like, actually, it was like that. I mean, if you want to liken it to rap, that's like when Bad Boy had Mace, Biggie, the Locks. They had them all. They even had the female rapper lane because they had Lil' Kim.
Right.
They didn't have any weaknesses.
No.
They were making royalties off of Craig Mack's Flavor in the Year joint, and he didn't even do anything after that.
Yeah, he didn't need to.
Just to put it in perspective, like that's essentially like what Miami should have been if they stayed together a little longer. Because when you're coming off the rafters, and this is my decision, and we're going to win 10 and 7, I'm like, dog, you can't win 7, you can't win 8, you can't win 9 if you only stayed there for 4 fucking years.
That's true.
That's all I'm saying.
He had a different agenda and a different motive.
He needed to repair that image to win one for not Cleveland, Yeah, they play in Cleveland, but it was really for Akron.
Right. It was for Ohio. It was for
absolutely. It was for the state, and this is a team that starved for a championship. You talking about Cleveland Browns,
right?
Cleveland Indians, who are now the Cleveland Guardians.
Have we ever seen them win a championship? Probably not.
God.
Not in our lifetime.
No.
At least, so I mean, honestly, man, that's what I said. I never used to like LeBron in the beginning. I grew to like him.
It's so funny. I'm the polar opposite of you.
I didn't.
But man, this is the thing for me with the super teams. The reason why Durant is worse for me in my book, you go to the team that beat you 3-1, the Warriors.
Thank you, sir.
You were up 3-1 on this team with Westbrook.
Thank you.
And you go to that same team. That LeBron didn't do that. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's still it lowers the level.
LeBron has a safer. Listen, I'm hard on LeBron.
Right.
But I'm supposed to be. I do a sports podcast, and if people are saying this dude's the GOAT, I'm supposed to be. I saw Mike play. I saw Magic play.
Right.
I saw Kobe play. I saw LeBron play. I'm actually kind of lucky that I saw all these guys. I saw Bird play.
That's true.
So like I have to be hard on this dude. It's not that I want to come off like a hater. It's not like, that old man energy. I don't. It's not even that. It's the kind of thing where it's like, this is what my standard was. So I expect you to at least be close enough to that. Right. And I respect how you feel because you say he's second. You could make a logical argument for that too because of the diversity of his game. The man is a phenomenal passer. The man has won with 3 different organizations. Those things cannot be ignored.
Right.
I think it's more of the team hopping. But Kevin Durant's career trajectory, in my opinion, actually did LeBron quite a favor. Yeah. Because it makes LeBron's situation look a little less like however you want to take purity out of it, whatever the word is.
Right.
He went back to Cleveland, bro.
Yeah.
Got it done.
Got the ring.
Ask Shaq. Ask Shaq if he regrets leaving Orlando.
Yeah.
He'll tell you, yes, he does, because he feels that he should have at least won one before he dipped out.
At least one. And they was right there on the cusp. I feel like they could have, if they would have stuck together, they would have beat Houston or maybe even the Bulls again.
It was immaturity at its finest.
Right.
I think when they won the East and they beat. You know what I really think did it to them mentally, where they got their head all messed up was when they beat Michael Jordan.
Right.
Because when you're growing up and he's everybody's basketball hero, and you beat him, it's hard to not get ahead of yourself.
Right.
And then you factor in youth, immaturity. I mean, we've all been there.
You got the big head, though.
Absolutely. We've all been there. We have all been there where
John Morant.
You think you've already won the championship after you beat Jordan. And why shouldn't you?
John Morant is like, I love John Morant. He's one of my favorite players in the league.
Reminds me of Neek.
Brunson as well. And Damian Lillard. I was just talking to people about that. But back on John Morant, right? He was playing so good these past 2 years. And he's playing great right now. Just to touch on him is kind of off topic, but he's a great player. I love him. I have nothing bad to say about him. But him getting the big head, I think it's kind of catching up. It catches up to those guys a lot of the times. Even if you can back it up, unless you are MJ or LeBron, and it ain't really too many of those guys. It's
it's the way you said
even
it.
Kobe and stuff like that. Those are different type of big dogs where it's just like you can't really say much. Even Kareem, Magic, Bird, these type of different guys. Even Durant, you can say something about him only because he went to team hopping. But as far as play, I'm just going off of just.
And I even tried to give Durant a scenario, like I said. If if the Sonics don't leave and become the Thunder and go to a different place, Seattle, like I said, great city. I think he might have been the career man. He might have been there the whole time. I actually do believe that. I'm not blaming Kevin Durant for every angle, but the one that you said that's almost unforgivable. The
Warriors.
That would be like, okay, so let's take it to Dipset versus the Lox, just to make an analogy.
Right.
Jada ate everybody's ass that night. We could all say that without batting an eye.
Yeah.
In verses, just totally destroyed. And he took it to a place where it didn't feel like a versus.
He got personal with him and everything.
He got personal. It felt very real.
Yeah.
Not very scripted, because Versus is kind of like a safe way to go about it.
Right.
But what I gotta say is, what Jada did there, okay. So that would be like you lose all your competitive pride, so to speak. And now you're Cameron or you're Jules Santana. You'd be like, no, you know what? I'm gonna go join these guys.
Right.
Or when Beans and Jada had their thing.
Yeah.
This guy can't go to Philly. He's gonna get booed. And this guy can't go here. He's gonna get. It was real. Ultimately, the important thing is that it was good for the art, and it didn't get to the next level where it could have been stupid.
Competitive.
But to
keep it competitive and
keep it competitive, keep it on wax.
Right.
But when you come full circle with it, to apply it back to Durant, that's why it's unforgivable.
Right.
You're at the pinnacle. You're a game away from being at the pinnacle of what the NBA is about, making it to the finals.
And I think that took away from I love Steph Curry, and we got to kind of put him in that debate of top 5 or 10 just because of the accolades and what he has done.
Absolutely.
I'm very comfortable with Steph being in the top 10.
You can say that.
I think on my list, I actually had him exactly at 10.
Yeah.
I think he was exactly at 10.
Yeah, you can say that.
He definitely deserves it. And, if he keeps playing and wins another one, then you're going to have to move him up to higher eventually.
Listen, before the show ends, fellas, there's one particular issue I want to bring up.
Okay.
And that is a Gilbert Arenas interview with a YouTuber. If you watch it, 20 minutes long. But Gilbert is bashing.
Did he freeze? He's showing up, did. What Brett was saying, I bet you wish he did that at pre-shift, right?
MJ. the whole debate was LeBron, MJ, GOAT topic.
He was bashing who, though? Who was he bashing?
He was bashing Jordan.
Oh,
now, would you say he was bashing Jordan, or
no.
Hold
on.
He was praising LeBron?
No, he was. He was. He was more. It was a bit on the both. A bit on the both side, but at the same time, he was saying that the 80s and 90s era was trash, saying that the Jordan era was trash.
Well, what I like about that,
and that the players of the 80s and 90s cannot compete with
but you got to understand
players
something.
of the 2000s and today.
But you got to understand something. When you're a baller in the 2000s, or okay, Draymond Green, I'll give you an example. Of course, Draymond's going to say LeBron's the GOAT because he lost to him. You got to it's like protecting your own ass to a level. Like, for instance,
but
if
the
you ask
thing
Lawrence,
is that
hold on.
Before this interview, he admitted Jordan was the GOAT.
Right.
Well, I mean, people change their minds.
You again.
Yeah, I mean, but people change their minds. I mean, there's not a law against that. But what I'm saying is,
I get it. But like, you don't say
it's protecting his era, because if you're Lawrence Taylor, you're going to say that Joe Montana's the GOAT because you beat him.
Right.
And he beat you.
Right.
If you're Michael Strahan, you're going to say Tom Brady's the GOAT because you beat him. You're not going to say Joe Montana's better than Tom Brady.
No, my biggest issue wasn't his GOAT debate. That was not my biggest issue. My biggest issue was the fact that he said that the players of the 80s and 90s cannot compete with the players of late 90s, early 2000s, and today.
But I'll be honest with you, you got to take it from the source.
You know what I think?
They can't, because that's like, you're telling me that the Showtime Lakers couldn't compete with anybody in today's league?
This is the best way to put it, Brett.
In today's league?
If you argue with an idiot and somebody's on the other side of the street, who's who?
Right.
Since when did Gilbert Arenas become a savant?
That just drives me nuts,
bro.
Man.
He was a knucklehead when he played in the league. He was a knucklehead.
But just hearing this guy,
he was a damn good player, though.
Indeed, I will give him that.
And he can speak on it. Only reason I can say he can speak on it because he was actually a good NBA player.
He was
an all-star. He was good. So he can speak on it, and it's an opinion.
And he kind of tweened it because he was kind of like in between both eras. But you cannot insult that because I'll put it to you like this. And I'm just going to make it rare because there's not a lot of – this is like another ignorance. If you see white players in the NBA, people associate white with just a skin tone. This is the stupidity of it.
Right.
Caucasian, American-born ball players, Tyler Hero would be like – I'm saying it because that's how thin it is.
Yeah.
Mostly from Europe, Germany. You're all over the place.
Right. They're more so from Europe.
Yes, because that has been a big part of
Luka
the influx
Doncic,
of those guys. Good shout, Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
Reason I brought up Tyler Hero. Put his arms next to Dan Marley and tell me who's more swole. Put David Robinson next to any center that played after him and tell me who's more swole. They act like these dudes were eating bologna sandwiches and didn't work out. Like,
right.
To me, like they come.
But to me, it's not the strength or the athleticism, because they still got that now too, in different players like Giannis and certain guys that Jason Tatum. We can go around the league. I think, boss man, it's more so the skill set. They had a different skill set back in those days than they have now. Just because basketball is not the same anymore.
No, not by any means. And
Steph Curry and those guys and LeBron and these younger guys, they kind of changed the NBA in a sense.
And then there's also a rules variable because
they don't play defense how they used to.
No, they don't play defense at all.
Right, back that up.
The game has just changed so much.
You have to back that up a little. It's not so much that they don't play defense at all. It's that part of the reason why the scores are so out of this world now is that everybody shoots threes now. The 2-for-1 or
fast-paced game.
Yeah, because let me ask you a question. Are the Knicks playing defense? I certainly think they are.
Oh, we're one of the best defensive teams in the league.
I get both sides of it. I really do.
That's Thibodeau. He's old school.
Yeah,
it has a lot to do with your coach.
That's Thibodeau,
right?
Yeah,
sometimes,
but
they play some defense.
Like you're calling out Gilbert Arenas. You can't say nobody plays defense. That's not accurate either.
In today's game, I don't know, man. I kind of have to say it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things.
Hold on. I get it. There's a lot of things. Hold on.
You got to take something into consideration. I understand that I get irritated when they don't call illegal screens or guys travel. But can we at least be honest about one thing? The clothesline was never part of a defensive strategy.
Right.
Unless
it's not professional. It's not professional wrestling.
Unless it was Bill Laimbeer, yeah, I can say that.
Right. It's an age-old debate. Quickly, we got 2 minutes. I'm going to elaborate on this in a future show, but I do want to hit on this quickly. We're at the 2-minute mark. Yankees and Mets. Either one of these guys getting over the proverbial hump in terms of getting to the World Series and meeting those great regular season records, following up with a ring or an appearance in the World Series. Short and sweet, Yankees need a left fielder, Yankees need a shortstop, and the Yankees need a leadoff hitter. And the Yankees need somebody to take a little pressure off a Judge, but I do love what they did with the pitching.
Right. I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm always say Yankees. Yeah, and I mean, hey, the Mets have came a long way as well. I would like to see a Subway Series.
Oh, that'd be nice.
A lot of people was hoping for it and looking forward to it. That would be great, man. It would be great for the sport, great for, the city of New York and the state of New York. So, and just baseball as a whole. So, I think they both, got some work to do. But the Yankees, man, they pay so much, they spend so much money, and they just never can get over the hump anymore.
Yeah,
since Jeter left, right?
Yeah, there's something to be said on that. Before I let Brett finish this up, I was at the 9/11 game. To your point about intensity of what the New York series means, Bretsky, you got about 30 seconds. We'll elaborate on this later in the week. Mets, Yankees, who and why?
I mean, they're both kind of equal. I think the National League is more stacked than the American League right now.
I disagree, but I respect your opinion.
Well, I mean, I just like we talked about earlier, Atlanta, St. Louis, New York. You know what I mean? The Dodgers, San Diego, they're all stacked.
You know, for a guy who throws out a lot of directions, this guy don't listen to them. I asked him to tell me about the Yankees and Mets. He just named 6 teams, not named the Yankees and Mets.
Well,
We're going to come back.
I get it.
We'll be back.
You gave me 30
We will be
seconds.
back.